Here we go. And welcome everybody to TFT Talks some Metal Gear, here with Wobwave.
Kept you waiting, huh?
McLovett, who died.
It's a hunty.
There we go. Myself, Chaos Mana, and special guest Sir Elan.
Whoa, Metal Gear. Damn.
Metal Gear? Yeah, I saw that video where it's just like the compilation from the first Metal Gear Solid game where it's just Snake like reiterating everything people says in a question like, it's a Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Psycho Mantis, you're that ninja.
Did you ever hear that saying that answering a question with a question makes you really stupid?
But
I mean,
Snake's supposed to have a super high IQ.
Is he though? We just know that he is a genetically advanced super soldier, basically. We don't know that if he's all that bright upstairs.
I mean, that could just be like part of his like sneakiness, is that he's like disguising his intelligence, that everyone hyper explains their plans to him. Like,
Exactly.
okay, let me lay this out for you. I have a nuke.
Nuke. It's a bomb, Snake. Bomb. Snake, just go in your box.
All right. So now that everyone has finished, let's start off with this. Now that everyone has finished Metal Gear 5, what's their overall opinions of the game? Yeah.
So, I felt that the gameplay was amazing. It's the game that you can I can go in and log right now, do some side ops, and still have a bunch of fun. I feel like the story was rather weak just because of the way it was set up. It felt like most of the story was in cassette tapes instead of in cutscenes, and you never got to see the other half of the story. Because I think in every Metal Gear game, or at least every Metal Gear Solid game, they show the villain or the antagonist sides of things in cutscenes, and it sort of gives them more depth. But in this one, Skullface is just kind of around sometimes, and I felt like he was really weak as a villain. But the gameplay was fun. Oh, and I also felt that Quiet's motives were very confusing. And the fact that she doesn't speak doesn't help with that.
You never get out to actually go and find out what she did and things like that?
Yeah, she just sort of does things, and then at the end she has an epilogue, and you're just like...
And
what?
if this is going to be the last game they make, we might not figure out, because she's not dead, but she's not around in Metal Gear.
In your game, I killed that bitch.
You just shot her? Did you realize what you were doing?
Well, here's the thing. It was funny because this got confirmed. To me, this got confirmed towards the end. Can we do spoiler stuff?
It's absolutely. That's why I wanted you to finish the game before inviting you on.
Okay, so here's what happened. When I got to the mission where you meet Quiet for the first time, I immediately recognized her as the person who was at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do? I shot her down, and then when she was injured, and it was like, hey, do you want to take this person in, or do you want to kill her? Think about what would have happened in this occasion. I'm the kind of person who likes to get inside the mind of the character and then make decisions based on that, if the game allows for that shit. So, think of this situation. You had just recovered Huey Yamrick. At least I had just recovered Huey Yamrick. And he was, and they were revealing that, he might have had something to do with the base explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Snake, who still can't really trust anybody because people think he's still alive, or people
think he's still alive.
No, because people know he's still alive. No, not think. And it's this whole general moment of distrust, and now you have somebody who just tried to murder you, and you want to bring him back to your base. I was like, "Brna!" So I shot her in the face, and she died. And then and then what was really funny was the transit. You know how they have the transition between chapter 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
They showed her, and I was like, "Oh, is she gonna come back?" But I guess they really didn't expect you to kill her because she never came back. Shit was funny.
So did you realize that you destroyed a potential companion that would have helped you with Sniper? Or
not really? I mean, listen, putting yourself in Snake's shoes where you're in that moment of distrust, and
that makes sense story-wise if he would have done something like that.
Yeah. And having somebody shoot you, and then you have the argument between Ocelot and what's his face,
Miller,
Kaz, yeah, Miller. So I was more inclined to go with the decision of shooting that bitch in the face, for the lack of a better term.
See, I
Actually,
was
I'm pretty
dumb,
sure there is a better term.
and I didn't realize that she was the soldier in the hospital until the end when they revealed it. I'm like, whoa! And then I'm like, how the fuck did I not see that?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was funny because, like, I kind of thought it was, but I wasn't entirely sure, you know? Because, like, you know, like, that's a very hyper-specific situation where you're seeing somebody, like, you know, in that light, and you, like, you know, you barely got to look at her because everything was so blurry and shit because you had just come out of a coma for 9 years. But yeah, like, I kind of recognized that, like, she was stupidly familiar looking in that aspect, and the fact that she kept humming, I didn't like, so I killed her.
I didn't notice it was the same until I like watched it back and then heard other people like, oh yeah, that's totally her. I'm like,
Yeah.
now I
Yeah,
can
like,
see the face. Before I was just like, oh, it's a generic assassin. I didn't really think too much of it.
Yeah.
And
no,
then
I wasn't like super sure, but I was kind of sure. So like even like that again, like it goes back to like what would Snake think? Like even that little plague of doubt, like would you send somebody back to the base that you just got again after somebody possibly betrayed you before? So it was like, nah, not worth it.
See, I usually play from the way of like how I would do things, and when I saw a sniper like jumping 300 feet in the air and going camouflage, I'm like, she's on my team. She's still alive.
Yeah. But I don't know. Anyway, but going back to what you were saying, like about how people felt about the game, I thought it was an interesting take on Metal Gear and the world and how things work. But it didn't really feel like a Metal Gear Solid game. But maybe that's because we weren't playing Big Boss.
Yeah, it wasn't a Metal Gear Solid game. It was more of a, like they said, it was kind of not exactly a stealth game, more of a action game with a bit of stealth in it. Like you can choose to be stealthy, but especially in this game, the amount of stuff they give you and ways that you have to not only escape pursuit but become this super badass with a tank.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's supposed to, it's more of you're fighting the world. You're not exactly trying to be stealthy anymore.
Yep. I will say this. I guess this is where, like, you know, Kojima got pissed off with Konami, but when you got to the later missions of the game, they kept getting really repetitive, even to the point where they just fragrantly repeated missions with something different.
Oh yeah, the later on it was just straight up.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys were
subsistent
watching it. I
version.
flipped the shit on my stream. I was so angry that was the thing. Like, I was already kind of skeptical with how they did the whole mission layout, how they pulled it out like Peace Walker, where, you know, you had this whole thing where you had to, you know, manage fucking people, and like to me that shit's really annoying. But I guess like I kind of grew into it as it went along because it was a little bit more fleshed out than Peace Walker was. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like to me, this isn't a Metal Gear game. While it at points it does feel like if you're when you're doing just story missions, yes, it kind of feels like a Metal Gear game, kind of, except for the point where you have to keep reloading shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was interesting. Like it was a fresh where we were with Big Boss into what now is Snake, what now is Solid Snake.
Yeah.
And you know, there's it ties up most of the story. There's still a few things here and there that they didn't tie up, or maybe I just haven't listened to enough tapes.
Do you know about the cut third act with the Kingdom of the Flies mission that was cut? It's supposed to be like mission 51 or whatever.
I don't.
It was like
but
30% complete, and you can see it on the collector's edition stuff, and you can Google it on YouTube, or look for it on YouTube, and it shows like the stuff that was in development for the final mission that had Snake tracking down Eli and the Sahelanthropus in on an island, and some of the stuff that goes on there, and it sort of wraps up like a little bit of that part of the story. Because
blatant Liquid clearly doesn't have a Metal Gear by the time he shows up. Not that version of Metal Gear.
Yeah, no, that was actually like the major point that they didn't cover. It was like what happened with Elan the Sahelanthropus. But
because in the game
and the whole English strain that Mantis caught at the end.
Yeah, like all of that was just like he floats off on a mech, whatever, and then it's like, okay, next mission. And you're like, wait. Go back to that.
Go back to that. Fire Huey because of that, but then go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, it was interesting. I love that they I love that they played on like all of this, like all of the stuff that's going to happen. Like I think and this is Kojima's work. You can tell the storytelling on like how things shaped up is pretty great. Specifically with Skullface, like you said, you didn't know Skullface was that much of a villain unless you listened to the tapes. I kind of disagree with that, simply because of Ground Zeroes. Like that's where they establish him as a villain. And yeah, you're right. He doesn't do much, but there's a lot that's implied.
Yeah, that's
specifically when they say he's working for Cypher, who we all know is made by Zero, and we all know what we think of Zero after Metal Gear Solid 3 and blah blah blah.
Did you hear the ending tapes about what
Zero
talking with the others after you beat the game? Did you listen to those?
I think no, actually, I don't think I did.
Because those tapes show, not only was Zero, I kind of fucked up. I didn't mean to have this, thing go rampant on me. At the end, because Skullface, it reveals how Skullface basically put him into the wheelchair state that we see in 4, by sending him a, pin, which he ends up pricking his finger with the English strain, and nearly dies, but because of his advanced Zero powers, is able to get enough medical attention to survive.
Right,
but
he's in a vegetative state, right?
Yeah, well, not quite yet, but his mind was very much failing at that point. So one of the last things that he decides to do is go out of cover and try and visit Snake in the hospital, but Snake isn't yet awake, so he's just by the time you actually wake up, I'm going to probably not be there anymore. Right.
Yeah, I actually didn't read the tapes, but they give you a whole timeline of shit after you beat the game. They actually gave you 2 giant timelines, and that's in there, so that's how I found out about him doing that. But I didn't actually necessarily listen to the tapes, which I need to do. And I mean, we can get into what I think of the tapes later.
So McLovin. Yeah. Oh no, man, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was gonna move on to McLovin, but if you have more to say.
No. Well, let's see. I killed Quiet, so I didn't, do anything with that. No, and you know what? You said it wasn't really a stealth action game. I kind of disagree. Maybe it's just the way I played it. Because I guess you can.
It felt more like an action movie, is what I was saying.
Right. Oh, that's something I wanted to talk about. But let me finish this out first. I guess you could just go in guns blazing, but you could do that in regular Metal Gear Solid games, right? Yeah. I took the non-lethal approach, where I would go in, I would knock people out, Fulton them, or just let them sleep so I can get the perfect stealth, which is no kills, no alarms. And apparently, if you Fulton somebody, that counts as a kill for that achievement only, which is really weird. But yeah, the way I played it, anytime I would get somewhere and have to infiltrate that base and then do whatever, felt very Metal Gear-ish. But I guess the traveling times and everything in between was kind of bizarre.
The unskippable, even if there's no enemies around, helicopter intro and exit scenes.
Yeah, the helicopter intros.
I mean, the only time it makes sense is if there is enemies about, if you're doing it right on top of the enemy base, sure, you shouldn't be able to just skip right to being dropped off if your helicopter otherwise would have been shot out of the sky. Yeah. But if there is no enemies pursuit, just kind of do a time lapse of, okay, you're out already.
Yep. But since we're talking about the helicopters, there's one thing this game did that bothered the shit out of me and made me more pissed off than I've ever been in my life about a video game.
Really?
Whenever you play story missions, they roll these stupid-ass credits that ruin every single fucking thing that happens in the goddamn mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? How, when they roll the credits, it's hey, guess what? That man on fire is going to be on this one. You better watch out for that guy. Hey, by the way, Skullface shows up. Hey, Hal Emmerich, he's still alive. He's going to be in here. It's what the fuck? Why would you do that? I understand that they're going for episodic content, right?
It should have been. The best friend said it would have been better if it was just guest starring ? No, at least it would have been a little bit better.
You know what they could have just done is have post roll instead of pre roll credits. Even
Yeah.
though they already have post-roll, but the post-roll was what the pre-roll should have been. And here's the thing, I get it, that they're going for episodic content, right? Like, they're trying to make this like a TV show where, oh, look, where is Snake gonna go in today? What kind of... And for me, because my gameplay is hilariously, because I'm terrible, it's like, oh, what kind of hijinks is he gonna get himself into this week? Ha! But it's like, why would you ruin the entire like mystery of what's about to happen by having those dumbass pre-roll credits? That was something that was incredibly stupid.
Yeah, there was no surprise that like I went into a mission with light gear the first time I was playing it. I think it was the like Factory of the Dead one. And then I saw starring like Skullface, a man on fire, and then I backed out of the mission. I was like, I better bring something more high tense.
Yeah, you know what I did? I started closing my eyes through the fucking pre-roll credits.
Oh, that
Literally,
would've
I
been
started
smart.
closing my eyes, and then whenever he would open the door, I would give it another 2 seconds, and then they would get to like the level design credits.
I do know concerning the credits, I forgot the exact like things that the mod does, but people have released a mod which takes those out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't matter now.
Oh yeah, it's too late now that you've already played the game. But if this one had been out earlier, like you might have been able to save some of the
No,
spoilers.
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. I played on the PlayStation 4 version, so
Oh
mods
yeah,
don't there.
that too.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, from a design standpoint, I think that was really dumb. Maybe they thought it was like, maybe they thought they were doing something cool, and in theory, maybe it sounded cool, but in practice, it's like one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And I really hope that wasn't Kojima's decision to make.
It might not have been. I think another thing concerning the reason it does that is like maybe they also intended like because this game was in development for a long time, maybe the original intent was it's styled like that so they could release more missions later on and it could still fit into the story all the same. Like Mission 51, they could just add that in as a DLC or patch. Otherwise, like something that it could be modular and just keep on adding more and more episodes later on.
$20 for one mission. There you go, Konami.
$20 for the ending mission.
I mean, if it meant a lot of other story besides that, I'd be fine.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it, to be completely honest.
I mean, they did basically the first mission of the game, quote unquote, is Ground Zeroes, so it wouldn't be theoretically impossible to do that.
And Ground Zeroes had a lot of content from just one island.
The thing about Ground Zeroes is like it's essentially the same thing where it's like it was a good foundation for what this game turned out to be. It was a great foundation for what Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain turned out to be. And I think they kind of use that as a way to engage interest in how things are going to be done, right? And there's a lot of people that were automatically like really skeptical about, how the game was going to turn out because it didn't feel like a Metal Gear Solid game because it was open world or whatever. But I think Ground Zeroes felt more like a Metal Gear Solid game than Phantom Pain did, to be completely honest. Simply because Phantom Pain, I think, did... because of the open world aesthetic to it, to me, it didn't feel like a Metal Gear game. It felt very different. But again, it comes down to we weren't playing Big Boss. So maybe they did that on purpose. The same way that, when you played Raiden, the game felt very different than when you played Snake in Metal Gear 2. Or even the preceding Metal Gears after that. Or before that, not after that.
Yeah, you weren't playing the actual Snake the entire time, so it felt slightly different. Like he said, one of the reasons that you can create your own face is that you're putting your own self on top of Snake. You're kind of projecting yourself into the role of Big Boss to kind of be nodding off to the fans, like from Kojima, from the amount that he can actually fit into because of Konami just being like, no, we're gonna sabotage ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, the whole character creation thing kind of pissed me off too because I thought it was going to be like the next open or the next I thought it was going to be something like the next Max Effect. It's like, oh, make your own character like that. We don't have to bother with the job of making you sympathize with this character, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after it turned out that I didn't like that, it didn't matter because he looked like Snake anyway. So I was like, oh, okay, that was close. I was about to flip a shit. I really was.
So, McLovin, what did you think of the game?
Great thoughts.
I kind of felt like,
I'm kidding.
I kind of felt like there wasn't, like in other Metal Gear Solid games, you get like boss fights, which you have to do, and really in this one there was only the skulls, which were pretty
Kind
easy
of
to beat,
bossy.
since they did,
Not really.
yeah. And then there was Sahelanthropus, which a giant walking back. It was pretty easy to take down. I kind of felt like I kind of wanted like at least a few more boss fights. Like the whole game I was looking up to fighting Skullface, and then at the end it's like, oh, pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger. Oh, that's how that ends. All right.
Yeah, I do wish there was like a Cobra unit or Winds of Destruction type or a Beauty and the Beast type like gang of bosses that you went through. Like each mission, you have to fight one of them or whatever. Like it sort of lacked that squad of bad guys that is memorable from all the other Metal Gear games.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did realize that and I think this goes along with this, is that the pace of the story in this game was dreadfully slow.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we only get like 1.5 boss fights.
Well, even if even if you squish all the story together, the actual story is very, very minimal. All the other games, even with 4, it had a lot of story, but it still was a really fun game, and the story itself was a really nice one to follow. And
in
even
4?
in 3, even in 3, it was still kind of a lot of cutscenes if you look at it all together. Like the person that edited down a condensed movie version, it was still 3 hours worth of story. And this one, you could probably condense everything down into like less than an hour.
30 minutes of cutscenes. Even less if you kill Quiet.
Yeah, maybe that's what I did wrong. I killed Quiet. Maybe that's why the game was so stupidly slow.
There is a lot of cutscenes involving Quiet that you missed out on.
Oh well.
So you've had even less.
Oh well.
Stuff going on.
I probably will not play the game again, and I'll preserve this experience of killing Quiet, because probably not a lot of people did that. I'm curious to see the percentage of that, because for those that don't know, like for me, like I like to really isolate myself from a game before I play it, because I want like the full blind experience. So I like whenever I saw anything involving Metal Gear, or if I saw anything that looked like Big Boss or anything that looked like anything, I would just completely shut whatever I was doing off, because I didn't want to know. So like after I got through Quiet, and I know Quiet was a really big point of discussion, but after I got through Quiet, making the decision I made, then I was like, all right, what the hell is this? And I started looking into it, and I saw like people were like, complaining that you couldn't have her as a buddy because it would erase your game or whatever. But like, again, like if she was such a central part of the game, why would they let me kill her?
That's true.
Metal Gear Solid games don't do that.
That's true, but it's not like The Boss or Gray Fox where it's a big story moment of having you pull the trigger, or eventually it just lets you do it anyway. Like it's just an awkward story thing, because is it supposed to be super important? Would they have done it? The only other diverging story path I think is in Metal Gear Solid, when you can choose to save Meryl or not.
Right, where it's Meryl or Otacon.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if they had made a bigger deal about her in-game, then I think I would have been more inclined to take her along. But they didn't. It was just like, hey, look, it's the person from the hospital. Payback's a bitch. All right, moving on.
Yeah, they didn't exactly, like, the big deals are made after she's on your team, but beforehand, it's the only, like, inclination is just Ocelot being like, she might be valuable. You should take her along.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the decision was for that. I mean, I don't necessarily know. I kind of hope. Again, it's another thing that I kind of hope, or maybe it even was. It was like Kojima's trollish way of like making the player make a decision where they have to play the game more than once to get stuff or understand stuff. Cause like I don't know. Like, and this is the beautiful thing about it, is I don't know what the game is like with Quiet now that I've played it the way I did. Like, I don't know if I got extra cutscenes that nobody else did because they killed or because they kept quiet. I don't know if, some crazy shit happened that I wasn't supposed to see because, everybody needs to save quiet.
I can tell you one thing. Having quiet on your team is like having the hammer of God with you.
Really?
Yeah,
man, that dog was really
The
good.
dog I ended up using the dog a lot more often, and then until later on in the game when you end up losing quiet anyway, if you don't have a very specific setting on. I used the dog so much more often because usually the only time I needed stealth was in close combat situations where he's a lot more valuable being able to see through every wall and things like that. Though in any boss fight, Quiet is super valuable. She draws the skull's attention when they're on harder difficulties.
Yes,
with her anti-material rifle, I think she like two shots those skull soldiers on extreme difficulty.
I am very upset about the later on if you actually have Quiet on your team, because at the end, after you beat the soldier poison missions, when you save them, if you have Quiet at 100% loyalty, and you do not have the butterfly symbol as part of your Metal Gear emblem, she'll just leave. And then you'll have a mission to go find her, and it ends up being the part where she leaves the game. You don't have any warning, like anything to trigger it. It just happens. No matter how valuable she is at the moment or how many quests you want to use her on, you don't have any inkling of knowing that would have been the only way to prevent her from leaving, is if you put a butterfly symbol on your Metal Gear emblem.
That's Kojima.
Yeah. And that's one problem with having
if you're...
Oh, go ahead, McLovin. Sorry.
I was just going to say, even if you also, take and spend like a lot of GMP on her and get the Sniper Wolf costume, but don't get to use the Sniper Wolf costume.
Yeah, I had just finished unlocking everything, and I was about to start using her more on missions, and then just suddenly gone. And I would not you can't unlock certain things if you don't have her, like the emblems and the code names. You can't even do that anymore because you need her to actually be there with you. It would have been better if they had a mission which was Quiet related, but you knew what you were getting into. This is, warning, you're going to lose one of your most valuable companions as soon as you start this. So make sure you do everything you need to beforehand.
I disagree with that. Because, again, it's the whole element of surprise in a game, right?
That is true, but...
a game that's built upon completion, it has a completion meter on the helicopter itself. It's impossible to get 100% completion if you lose a companion, which helps you get certain things. Those hard difficulty missions are so much harder because DD can't help you take down the Skull Soldiers. Quiet can. That's one of the best examples.
Well, so it's not impossible to get 100%. It's just harder, right?
If you haven't unlocked the emblems that you need for her, then you can't get 100% of everything.
No, I don't know. I'm tended to agree with the game's decision here because again, it's like a surprise thing. Though a cheap thing to make you replay the game. I kind of agree with it. It's like if it all comes down to this. If they told you were gonna lose what's her face, what's the point of having that surprise in the game?
I do think it would be nice to have a hint, and I think that's the problem with having a silent character is because she just does stuff and with no warning because she doesn't speak, and you're like, I thought we were cool, Quiet. What the fuck? Maybe there was a little hint that's hey.
Yeah, not exactly saying, hey, you're gonna lose Quiet, but a mission having to do with Quiet instead of she just leaves and then you have to go attempt to get her back. I don't want them to spell everything out for you because that's kind of what they messed up in the screens beforehand. But some sort of warning or some sort of thing that you could at least prolong it. Simply because she just randomly leaves, and the only way to do it is something that I would have never figured out unless I had found it out elsewhere.
And once she's gone for good unless you restart the entire game. You can't even go back and replay her mission where you get her to get her back.
I mean, listen, it's Kojima. Kojima likes to fuck with players.
That's true, but I think quiet annoys me because she's quiet.
You have no story except for the rare things that also happen, and if this is the last game, so you never actually get to hear anything from her perspective.
Except for the little speech at the end, and you're just like, what?
Oh, she has a speech at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
You actually get to hear her say more words.
Oh, what does she actually say?
It's something about wanting to revenge. I don't know. It's weird.
Such a lust for revenge.
Revenge on a big boss.
Yeah, she was. It's one of those things where you have to sort of like read between the lines of her motives because you don't know what her motives were because she doesn't speak, and she gives really no hints of what she was there for. But you can sort of assume that she was there to try to kill Big Boss and then decided, nah, I'm just gonna go live my own way, or something along those lines,
Which
she was intending to kill him, but then she was still upset at him for a long time, but she just couldn't bring herself to actually do anything.
Yeah, the whole lighting her on fire and tossing her on a window kind of made her a little upset.
He didn't do that. That was the other. Well, I guess that was the real Big Boss.
Yeah, that's true, but she also had the one of the English strain parasites with her, so that's why she was quiet. Because once she started to speak, she would infect everyone. And so she was basically like a ticking time bomb. And then at the end,
did you? I never noticed, but the guy that you pick up at I think it's the honeybee mission, he's like, oh, he must be a mute.
Yeah.
No, he's your source of infection of that whole disaster.
Was he the source of infection? I thought it was on the...
For me, it was the Kikongo strain, and that guy wasn't talking. Why wasn't he talking so specifically?
I wouldn't assume he wouldn't. I think they said his village was just that was the one random dude that his village was destroyed by the Soviets, and then you sort of find out through tapes and other stuff that no, they were testing the Afghani strain there, and then
that's why I'm thinking that he might have had part of the talking virus with him.
Oh, I'm sure he probably did, but I don't think he was the source of the infection on the base.
Well, if you Fulton him.
I know, but Kikongo is an African language.
Wait, did you guys know the source of infection before shit went down?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's just my theory. It could be... It's always Kikongo, he says. Was yours Kikongo, Wubs?
Yeah, mine was Kikongo.
How did you guys even know? All I know is that one day my base got sick, and then people died. And then Code Talker.
It was more of the there must be something that's causing it here. Look at these people, and the only thing that you had to go on was language. Everyone that was already infected was speaking a similar language. So if you quickly put all those language people in quarantine, then you significantly reduce the amount of people that die during the other story quests.
I didn't even think of that.
I didn't.
Although
do that
I did
either.
look.
I just steamrolled through to get to as far in the story as possible to get the cure, and then I was like, "Oh, it was Kikongo."
The Kikongo strain.
No, I honestly had no idea that was even language until I got to Code Talker. Because I looked, I don't know if I still have the thing on my channel, but I looked through every person, and I was looking through every language they spoke, and I could not find. I think I even had one guy in there that spoke just two. And it was completely different than somebody else. So I was like, oh, I guess maybe it's something else that I can't see right now. Maybe I'll find out later.
Yeah, if I remember right, I think it's everyone there speaks English and Kikongo, and then one guy speaks no English but Kikongo and something else. And that's sort of the hint where it's oh, it's Kikongo.
No, because I had a dude in there that spoke all of it. And it's
I was, though I did cheat a little bit because I was worried about my soldiers, that I was looking through it. I saw that I had the suspicion that it was going to be something to do with language, but I double checked how you actually not have everyone die, and it said it was this specifically the actual language they had in common. I know eventually I would have come to that conclusion, otherwise I would have just sat there forever. But it's still a very specific you don't think of it. Because you want to compare other things, other versions of symptoms.
Elon, you mentioned Code Talker. That was a very interesting scene in the helicopter where they just give you like a major exposition dump as shit's going down. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, the parasites. And you're like, parasites? It's like, Metal Archaea. You're like, Metal Archaea? What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, no, Metallic Archaea was a thing in there before, wasn't it? I think it was mentioned once or twice before with Skullface.
I might have been, but it's like, I had no idea what that was at the time. So I was like, what are you talking about, you old crazy man?
Really? Maybe I'm just remembering this wrong, but I remember something. I remember something happening with Metallic Archaea right before Code Talker came into this thing, and it specifically came up when with that mission where you had to stop the Yellow Cake Uranium from going to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where that's sourced from. And then a few missions after that was the Code Talker mission, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I just wasn't paying attention, and I was like, spy stuff, nuclear weapons, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. And can I just say this too? I didn't really feel a need to make weapons after I got the tranquilizer sniper rifle.
Really?
As long as it was silenced and tranquil and non-lethal, I was using it, and I didn't make shit.
Yeah, I did have these set of 3 weapons, which was the first assault rifle they give you, the tranquilizer pistol, and then the tranquilizer rifle. Sometimes a rocket launcher for tanks and whatnot, but basically those 3 were the only ones I really needed and upgraded. I never really used many of the other weapons after that.
The only time I ever switched my loadout was in the big mission right before Sahelanthropus, where you go to where Skullface takes you to the base. Simply because I was having a hell of a time infiltrating that goddamn base.
But the Brennan sniper rifle though. The
Wait,
Brennan
what?
sniper rifle though, that's the best weapon in the game.
Oh,
The anti-material sniper rifle.
Oh, well, I didn't fucking get to that. I got the parasite suit, but I never researched anything into it. It was like, hey, look at all these fucked up people using this parasite suit. You want your own parasite suit to become a fucked up person?
Yes. I got it. I was like, yes, I want to be like that. And then I use it. It's like, I can make a cloud around myself. Cool.
Yeah, it's not as valuable, and also the stuff runs out very quickly anyway. It's kind of interesting, but its overall usage factor, the most useful thing is the mist, which creates they can't see you at all, so you can just use it kind of like a sandstorm in detection ability.
Yeah, I don't know. Even in the code the Code Talker mission where you run into the sniper people.
Yeah.
I got so unbelievably lucky because I managed to sneak past all of them.
Really?
Without actually fighting them. I thought I was the biggest badass of all time for a second.
I remember that mission, and I remember there was one sniper waiting for you as you try to carry Kotaka out, and she shot at me trying to kill me and ended up killing him, and I was like, fuck. So I had to redo that
The
entire
skull
section.
sniper is just there at the top?
Yeah, it's the very end. There's one on the way to the helicopter that's just waiting.
Oh, I never knew that. I know if you don't kill
I
them, the people at the end turn into zombies.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Yeah,
I
there's
just had
the
zombies at
but
the
there's
end.
still one sniper that's hanging around.
That's crazy.
Really? I never ran into that sniper. Again, more lucky than ever. I never ran into that sniper. After I got through them the first time and started infiltrating the house, that was it.
It might have been because you weren't detected, possibly, but definitely for me, I do remember for a fact there was a sniper on the way to the helicopter that fucked up Kotaku's shit with one shot, and I was like, well.
The thing I don't like about the way they structured it is they just count Kotaku as another target, and I'm putting Kotaku somewhere safe as I go outside to scout out the area and deal with the soldiers. I was not killing everyone and going into fight. I was just tranquilize everyone, clear a path so he could be safe. Every 2 seconds, what are you doing? Stop leaving the target there. You're leaving him in danger. Those 2 messages on repeat. Miller won't shut up. I'm like, he's fine. He's either in that room where one time I left him in a dumpster. No one saw me put him in there. He's completely fine. I'm not abandoning him. We're trying to head for the helipad. But
I had no issues with extraction in that mission. I just picked them up and walked out. Everybody else was zombies.
yeah,
So
that was zombies. I had to actually defeated the skull snipers the first time. because I didn't really know. Like, I was already detected immediately.
Did you do that mission on Extreme?
I did. I
Oh.
actually defeated them with Quiet using this kind of jank attack method. Quiet can survive 2 of their sniper hits on hard difficulty, while you can only survive 1 before it's like insta-shot. So I would have Quiet shoot them once. She would move somewhere else. I'd change her outfit, which refreshes her, and then have her shoot him again. And I did that over and over until all the Skull Ciphers were defeated.
Yeah, that was one hell of a mission on Extreme.
I snuck. I was doing the extreme difficulty of that. After like a while, I had already done the quiet mission where she leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, fuck. So, I tried taking them out. Didn't work. So eventually, I just decided to sneak by them. I get to the house, get Code Talker. I'm carried to the helicopter. I get him in the helicopter. I get in the helicopter myself. We fly off, and as we're flying off, there's laser pointing at me. So they shot me right out of the helicopter. Like 5 or 6.
So there's a sniper that hit one boy of Code Talker, just aimed at you in the helicopter. That's funny.
And
The helicopter was.
I'm just,
I know we were bitching about the helicopter. It does have some genuinely funny moments. Like there was the one time I was like, oh, I'm just gonna helicopters to this destroy the tank mission. Apparently, the helicopter decided to fly over the tanks on the way to get to the landing zone. And I was just like sitting there looking through my iDroid, and then I'm like, why am I on the ground? Why is my helicopter on fire? Why are the tanks shooting at me? What happened?
What, didn't it like toss you on top of the tank?
It blew the helicopter up, tossed me to the ground right next to the tank. And I was like, hey, saw you coming in.
Wow.
And the only time I ever had issue with helicopters blowing up was at the parasite, the parasite farm mission where you run into the man on fire. Because like I just got on the helicopter and man on fire. I was like, Hadouken, and then the helicopter's dead.
How did you defeat the man on fire? By the way,
Yeah, what did you do during that mission?
I put a C4 on the water tower
Oh.
and then activated it and then ran a helicopter as fast as I could.
I think that's what Chaos did too.
Well, for the first time, I was like lucky enough to hit those like pods of water that are inside the first like factory building that's like empty. There's like a bunch of pods there, and I hit that a couple times and like managed to escape using that. Later on in missions, I found out there's many ways that you can defeat him, like shotgunning him into the center pool. Knocking him out and then trying to Fulton him counts as permanently defeating him.
Really?
If you shoot Psycho Mantis, that also disables him for a small period of time. And you have to fire at him. I don't know if there's any specific way to hit him, but you have to just keep firing at him when the man on fire is knocked out to prevent him from reviving him.
See, I just called in a tank and then knocked his ass into that puddle.
See, the first thing I actually tried was putting C4 in the little pool to splash water on him, but I guess that's not how the game works. Because like I even drove the car in there. I was like, splash water, damn it.
See, I called in a water pistol, and I'm like, perfect. This weapon will be his kryptonite. He'll have no chance against a water pistol. It's like, squirt, and then Kaz is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's not enough water.
Yeah, I guess it's just because I didn't use that feature a lot, like the call-in feature to call in stuff. Maybe it's just because I kept thinking I was playing Metal Gear Solid, 3 or some shit. But like, whatever I had on me, that was it. The only thing I called in for was supplies, though, because I could just tap my phone because I was using the companion app for a little while.
Oh.
And as somebody who hates companion apps, that companion app was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't have that. That sounds actually awesome. I could just tap my phone and be like, call supplies.
Yeah, all it is just the pause screen, except constant and on your phone.
That's awesome.
And to mark places, all you do is click, and it's cool.
Wait, which app is this?
the one thing.
The companion app, Metal Gear Solid 5 app. Did you know there was an app?
No, I did not know there was an app.
But
That's
What were
actually
you
really
saying,
cool.
Beloved?
Speaking of supply drop, I kind of wish that there was more like Metal Gear Solid 3, where you can carry like 5 or 6 suppressors with you instead of
Instead of you
suppressor
only
went out
get
pretty
one
quickly.
baby suppressor.
Supplies again.
Yeah.
You can't call in a suppressor. You have to call in a gun again or an entire like set of supplies that you don't need.
Well, when you collect the supplies, it refunds you if you don't need them. It refunds your money.
Oh.
True.
Also, supply drops can be the most effective weapon in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, as cool as they are, like, to me, that just doesn't feel like fucking Metal Gear.
Yeah, but it was a cool feature. I also like the fact when you switch out buddies, like they'll float in the way and then parachute in. I love seeing D-Dog like parachute in. That's the greatest.
Really, I never did that either. Whatever I had with me was what I kept for no matter how long I was doing shit. Although the funny thing is, with the horse, when you first got the horse, I was like, how the hell is this horse just gonna stand here? And I guess one time I just like out of the corner of the screen, I was able to see. I call it doggy horse because it's D horse and D dog, so doggy dog, doggy horse, doggy walker. I saw like the horse getting parachuted out and screaming while it was going up, and I was like, "Oh my god, is that like?" Just Pete to think about this.
I did like how some of the buddies like have to be folded out, like the D Walker and the horse obviously can't get on the helicopter, but like D-Dog jumping into the helicopter is like a little animation that always makes me smile a little bit. The first time that I saw Quiet get into the helicopter after the mission, it scared the shit out of me because you probably don't know this, Elan, but when you like leave, the helicopter takes off without her, and then as it's flying, she like leaps onto the side of the helicopter and grabs to the side of it. So I was just like sitting there and I'm like, check my eye right, and then I hear thunk, and I like look and there's like Quiet tail. Jesus Christ.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't use the walker at all.
Really?
I never used the D-Walker at all until I was trying to figure out a way to beat Sahelanthropus on hard difficulty, in which I was trying to get any method to doing it, and I found the way that best worked for me is to use the D-Walker as a portable car, because unlike every other vehicle, he can't like metallic archaea it, so you could just use him as a car to zip around, evading his attacks, so you can get good shots in at him.
I use the D-Walker to replace Quiet, because once you get the intercept head and like put on tranquilizer guns, you just like set it to intercept mode, and then you just sit back and it like aimbots everything in sight. It's proved to be pretty effective, except it's like 70,000.
Yeah, it's the most expensive one, and if you're trying to actually make money off the missions, that's another reason I didn't really use it. All of his gear was so expensive to research at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. There wasn't much of a reason for me to use it at all. Like I was just cool with Doggy Dog.
Oh yes, the dog is still my favorite companion.
D-Dog is, in all honesty, the best dog in video games of all time.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
D-Dog pulls a knife out of his vests and cuts people's throats to kill them.
See, I didn't use that at all. I just used them for fucking marking.
Man, you gotta expand your horizons.
Well, like, we're playing Metal Gear Solid. It's like, I'm Big Boss. Well, I guess I'm Phantom Big Boss or whatever.
What was your reaction when you found out that you weren't the real Big Boss?
I was kind of happy, actually. Because it kind of justified the way the game played.
Yeah.
It justified how different the game was.
And I like how there were, like, little hints. Like, in that one mission where you have to kill your own soldiers who are infected with the parasites, there's one little section where the one guy goes, "He can't be Big Boss. It's impossible," as you're killing them. And I'm like, oh, God. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, God, I'm not the real Big Boss.
That part actually made me very sad because it was playing like this, I think, Peace Walker song. And they were all saluting, like, "We'll do whatever you say." And
yeah, that was a pretty hard mission to play.
I think they were like even humming along with the song, and I was like, "No, please, no, stop."
And you're not even the one that they idolize.
Oh, I mean, they idolized you.
Yeah,
That's
true,
but I
but
mean, like,
it was the image that the other Big Boss had kind of forced upon you, and like Miller was actually very pissed about it too, which is why he kind of went off to support Solid Snake.
Yep. But now he's dead.
Speaking of that, in one of the cassette tapes that you get like after doing the mission where you find out like all the hospital stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cassette tape where it's Ocelot and Miller talking, and they basically say, "We're gonna have to split up at some point. I'm gonna go support this one of the clones from Big Boss. You're going to support the other. We're probably going to kill each other at some point. So yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was just
I
that was
wanna
just like the
see
post credits
that
thing,
moment.
right?
It was it
what's
wasn't
the
post credits thing. It was a tape that you did get after beating the game, like playing the.
I don't think I ever listened to that.
Yeah, it's a tape after you beat the truth mission. They
Yeah.
give you like a whole bunch of after story tapes, which are like the finale of the story, at least the finale that you get. Leaving about every single like plot hole story. Like there's actually so much story that could still fit and still connect the other two games that I'd kind of want to see like if they did add DLC for this
they
game.
won't. They won't.
I
Just
know.
release a mixtape of all the cassettes.
Well,
that
here's
both of them.
here's the thing. I don't think I ever listened to that tape, but I know I listened to that discussion about one going to one side and one going to the other.
It might have been like the post-credit sequence or something. It might have. I'm not sure.
Oh,
if
it might be
was
that like thing that happens like kind of similar to the Ocelot Call of 3. Like I forgot which was the ending. I think that might have been the ending credit scene.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because like I haven't been back to the actual game since I beat it, right? And there's a lot of shit I didn't finish because I don't care. I beat the game. Whatever. Give me my victory. But I know for sure that I listened to that. That conversation. What about what?
I was just gonna say, are you gonna try to build up your heroism so that way, you can try to disarm the nukes and get the nuclear disarmament cutscene?
Yeah, I haven't even gotten to that point. I
need to raise my thing. Like I'm missing 6 achievements, which is basically 100% the game, and then do a lot of stuff on multiplayer.
Can we talk about the FOB shit? While it's fun, why is there no like integration with anything else? Why can I not search for someone?
Yeah, I wanted to support WebWave, like to visit WebWave's FOB. I don't think there's any way that we're going to be able to run into each other anymore, especially now that we're on different like planes. Like we're not even that far in FOB rank because I barely played any FOB missions, but I played a different rank.
I tried once, and I saw how bullshit it was, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
The only way to really,
I didn't even do any of that.
Go-to strategy is using a silence shotgun and just killing everything, and then taking what I can.
Yeah, it makes it so unforgiving, especially if you want to actually be nice and like go through it stealthily, because they instantly become not only like Terminators, like invincible to everything. They also seem to have is more so than regular game. The AI seems to have a sixth sense of where you are at all times.
I didn't get that. The only thing that fucked me up was the cameras.
Yeah, that was the worst part. Like, I would be able to get around every soldier, but if they had any of the floating gun cameras, it was it.
And you know what it was? It was the fact that we couldn't have the cameras on the radar. Like, if you recall Metal Gear Solid 1.
That's true.
Cameras on the radar. Metal Gear Solid 2, cameras on the radar. Albeit, those games come later in, the world timeline, because it's like 2001 and 2007, if I'm not mistaken, is when those two happened.
2004.
2004. So yeah, I guess those come later. But the thing too is didn't they have that shit in Metal Gear Solid 3 where you could see cameras?
Did they? They had there wasn't very many security cameras.
Metal Gear Solid 3 even have cameras?
Yeah. Or if it wasn't 3, it was Peace Walker.
In Peace Walker, I think they might have had like a primitive version of that. But then again, that base and all its tech was destroyed. It was more so like Peace Walker had actually a lot of effect, or I say Ground Zeroes had a lot of effect on me because I had played Peace Walker a whole lot and like got to the end of Peace Walker because I saw you you stopped after you beat the like 4 chapters.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna grind shit out.
Yeah,
nah.
Like I went and completed the game, made Zeke myself, and then like all that stuff getting destroyed and Ground Zeroes were like, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, essentially like playing Ground Zeroes, I actually read the backstory, and it filled in all the holes that needed to be filled in with me not completing Peace Walker. So I was like, whatever. Also, speaking of Peace Walker and Ground Zeroes, did you guys find Paz at all?
You mean the end? I know you can find Paz again in Metal Gear Solid 5. But
Yeah, they find her. She's not dead. To me, that was the biggest surprise of the game.
yeah, because Cass was like, "Hey, go to the medical platform. There's something there." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Who's this?" Because I never played Peace Walker or Ground Zero, so I was like, "It's
Really?
Tara Strong." I'm like, "Okay."
Dude, like, to me, that was the biggest surprise of the game, hands down.
Yeah, somehow I was like, how in the world did she survive the second bomb? Oh, wait, no, it was just a cleverly edited cutscene.
There was a second shooter on the grassy helicopter.
The grassy
So we
helicopter.
spent an hour talking about Metal Gear Solid 5. However, this is Metal Gear talk, so we should probably talk about other games. Like, where did you guys get into the series? Like, what was your first Metal Gear game?
I got into Metal Gear at what was it? I played the tanker mission, Metal Gear Solid 2, when I was like 11 or 12, and then I played Twin Snakes, and then went on chronologically after that.
Yeah, I started with Metal
Like
Gear
I
Solid
beat
2.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh,
I'm in the same vein. I kind of started with Metal Gear Solid 2. I beat it and I was young. Like I think I was like 14, 15 when I was playing it. So it was hell playing that game because it was so hard at the time. Because it's like, stealth games, they aren't abundant unless you grew up with Thief and shit like that. But yeah, so I played 2, and then I didn't play another Metal Gear game until I did an entire playthrough of the whole series on
Really?
stream. That was fun.
so did you not play like Metal Gear Solid 1 or 3 until relatively recently?
No, yeah, I bought Metal Gear Solid 1, right? Because I found a copy of the game, like the PlayStation 1 copy of the game for like $5 at a record store. So I was like, yeah, okay. And, I started it, but I didn't actually like finish it. I didn't play it all the way through. Like I didn't commit. And then I decided that I was going to do like an entire series playthrough. And I did it like with release order, which I thought was a really interesting way to view the games instead of just playing chronological order, even though at the time I couldn't because Metal Gear Solid 5 wasn't out. And sure enough, like somebody was nice enough to, you guys know Jordan. He was nice enough to donate a copy of the Metal Gear Legacy Collection, so that's why I did it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I started with Metal Gear 1, and then played Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear 3, Peace Walker, and 4. So, yeah, like looking at the game in that kind of light, like a release order light, was super interesting. And I think it comes down to like each game had their like special moment, like in 5 included. Hold on. Sorry, somebody's trying to choke me out. Never mind, I'm dead. I'm playing Metal Gear Online. I think in terms of like the gameplay, I think 2 was my favorite. Maybe it's just because I had played it before and that's what I was used to. But 1 and 2 were my absolute favorite, except for that last scene in 1, the car scene against Liquid. That shit was bullshit. And I hate that. However, 3 and 4 rely on like such a heavy emotional storytelling that I can't help but love those games. Right, the whole story with Boss and Snake, and then like Peace Walker with the whole thing with the AI. Like that shit was pretty emotional. Like it got hard to play sometimes.
Yeah, I remember you talking about after the third game, because I watched through what I could before Twitch deleted the rest of your streams. But with 3 that you couldn't sleep after you completed the third game.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about
that's what I mean.
And, like it took and you have something great storytelling wise, and I felt this way after I watched what was that movie? It was like Life is Beautiful. Was that story about the dude about this Jewish Italian family like getting caught in the middle of the Holocaust and shit? Like I felt the same way after watching that. So you get the sense of like how tragic this shit was in my mind, which is really weird to say, like comparing a video game to a film about the Holocaust. But yeah, like after everything settled in, like, and I kind of like understood the story and like I was able to digest it. Like it was super super interesting, and it was I'm gonna say it, like it was one of those games that I think will influence how I think about games for the future. Oddly enough,
very good. And I was lucky that was the first one I actually played in the series. It was because like I had experience with like Splinter Cell and other military type games. So when I saw like military stealth game number 27 at Walmart, I was like, oh, I get it. I'll play this. And then there's a guy with bees and a ghost, and I'm like, what the
bees.
fuck? Yeah. I'm like,
yeah, the
what
bees
is
were really
this?
funny.
I was like, what is this? Why is this awesome? And then like as I went and played more in the series, I was like, this game is so weird. I love it.
Yeah, no, it was cool, and just that, like it really plays up to how Kojima wrote the story in 3. That after everything was digested, like and everything made sense, that like I kind of fell in love with that game. And then the weird part is like my least favorite has to be Peace Walker. Fuck that game. It felt shitty, and then you had to grind shitty ways, kind of like how you have to grind in 5. And
the grinding, the actual story, like I like building games the way that is. It doesn't quite fit in with how the other Metal Gears go. It was just a fun game because I like that style of building as well. But overall, I liked it for the story because it added a little bit more to the end of Big Boss's story. Like I like Peace Walker for the whole story aspect. The boss as AI struggle and
the whole thing with like Huey, I thought was really cool. Like how they what was funny, like the whole thing that they played out with Huey in this game,
so different.
Which I still felt very odd about. Like I'm not gonna lie, if there was one thing I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite because I hate decision making in games. Instead of like the character making a decision, they put it on the player, so they don't have to make you empathize with the character. The one decision I wish they would have let you make was whether to keep Huey or not. Right?
Yeah,
I felt really bad putting him on that raft.
It was tough because, at the very beginning, like at the beginning of everything concerning Huey, I was like, guys, leave him alone. He's just messed up. He just made a mistake. He thought it was an actual inspection. Skullface played him up, but then, like everything leading up until his banishment is like harder and harder to be like, it's fine. Especially the whole. Did you listen to Strangelove's recording? The entire thing.
The thing that he put Strangelove in that capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing, like I liked Huey and the character of Otacon, especially his voice, and then see him like super betray everyone over and over.
See, that's the thing with like Huey's story is that even though it's very, very, very suspicious, there's still that little kernel of possibility that he's just very unlucky.
He just has Otacon style luck, and he actually it was Skullface that did that. And it was, like, basically his person suiciding or accident. Like, Huey might not have actually been in the room when she was like, let me out.
Well, she said, damn it, Huey, but that doesn't mean that. She wasn't like, Huey locked me in this by pushing the button to close the door and seal me inside here. It's somewhat circumstantial.
I think this whole thing about, like, the suspicion of him setting that up was definitely... was played up a lot, but I think it was easily debunked with just how Skullface treated the motherfucker.
Yeah. And I know they even said that, like, oh, he's the one that mutated the parasite and caused the second outbreak. But it's
he was being forced to work for him. And he's a fucking, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I'm sorry if you don't want it, but he's a fucking pussy.
He is, that is true. But do you think, I don't know. It's still one of those things where they're like, it was Huey that did it. And it's like, was it? Maybe.
Yeah, like they did a really great job of like playing the doubt on it.
Yeah.
Like I definitely doubted it for a while, but like after I saw that, after I thought about it, like the way Skullface treated him, and the way he was shown, like, because Skullface didn't know Snake was there to rescue him. Skullface had no fucking idea. As much as like people want to play up that like, oh, he knew, and they acted that way. No, it was bullshit. Like, when you rescued Huey, they had no idea what the fuck was going on. And
he rescued Huey, a soldier walks up to Skullface and said, Snake was spotted sneaking about here. And he's like, planning on leaving, Doctor, are you?
That never happened. It was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
That never happened.
That happened in my cutscene. I don't know if there's a divergent cutscene, but a soldier walks up to Skullface and says that Snake is spotted sneaking about. Like, whispers that to him in his ear.
No, you're right. Never mind. I'm remembering it wrong.
Like, he tells him, and then he's like, aha, so this is going to happen. Like, he didn't know Snake was right behind him listening, of course.
Yeah, well, but again, planning on leaving? Like, what does he mean by that? He's being held against his will, right? That's the only way I can see that sentence making sense.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I guess you can play up, like, planning on leaving like he was in on it and now he's not. But I still think that's bullshit.
Yeah, there's a lot of... I feel like there's a lot of stuff that takes some, fan thinking into in Metal Gear Solid 5 as far as the story goes.
Well, in any Metal Gear, it
That's
takes a lot of
absolutely
thinking,
true.
right? That's the beauty of Kojima. Like, he leaves shit open to interpretation a lot.
A lot of the stuff, especially concerning like the whole ghost business with the sorrow towards the end, like the what actually is going on during that scene.
Right.
And one thing I like, just because he's like, I never really answered this. I got into Metal Gear itself because of Super Smash Bros. Brawl when Snake was a playable character, and I really liked how he was portrayed and the map that you got to play on. So once someone gave me a $20 gift card for PlayStation Network, I downloaded Metal Gear Solid on my PSP and played through that, and then like fell in love with the series, like bought the collection series after that to continue on to 2 and 3. But I really like the way that Psycho Mantis is portrayed, and kind of is the controlling force after he's introduced into the story in this game throughout the entire thing. Like in Metal Gear Solid, he's like helping to control the Genome soldiers and helping Liquid out throughout the whole thing. And then up through 4's plot line is the like guiding force behind Screaming Mantis, which helped to guide the other 3. It's just a specific plot point. So the last thing I was going to say, a plot that actually I would like to see, technically after they leave with Philanthropist, Liquid and Mantis were together for like 10 plus years doing stuff before Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
So I'd like to see
what
all
I want
that.
to see? I want to see Ocelot getting on Liquid's side.
Yeah.
That's one thing, because I mean, Ocelot was like responsible for keeping Eli in line for a lot of shit, and there was a lot of scenes where it looked like Ocelot was about to lose his shit and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So I really want to see the moment where
Liquid becomes his boss, and he actually calls him boss.
Yeah, I really want to see that. Like that. Like to me, that's the biggest thing that's left open that I really would like addressed.
But
sadly,
where they also get like Vulcan Raven and Sniper Wolf and how they like the formation of the team. I'd love to see that. That'd be cool.
Well,
yeah, the original Foxhound was a team before they actually like in Metal Gear Solid, it's the kind of not actually Foxhound. Like they would have gone on to like full out missions together with Liquid as the boss.
Right.
For many times over.
And you know what it is? It's Liquid's hatred of, and I thought for the longest time I thought Eli was Jack and not Liquid. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But the hatred of Big Boss that Liquid has, and the way that he just follows Boss instead of Big Boss, I think is pretty great. It's very indicative of like his hatred of Big Boss and the fact that like he finds out that Big Boss killed Boss, but he doesn't understand the why, so he just goes hating on Big Boss and acts like Boss for a while. That's why he makes Foxhound and all this other shit. And it's pretty funny that, in a way, the team composition of Foxhound is very similar to the way Boss did her team composition, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically if you have Quiet, it's basically you have the leader, Ocelot, and then the sniper, and then like a couple other people that are like, yeah, it's kind of the same sort of team comp.
Yeah, and it's the same for all 3 games, with the composition with Boss, the composition with Liquid in Metal Gear Solid 1, and in Metal Gear Solid 4. So I think there's like an overarching theme that they have that I'm just not understanding. Or maybe actually they probably explained it in Metal Gear Solid 4 and I just don't remember.
All I remember is that Johnny Sasaki is the savior of the world. The guy who poops his pants and saves the world.
Yeah. Well, he's been like pooping his pants since the first one.
That is true. Or at least, his great-grandfather in Russia.
Yeah, that's true. Although, like, I love how they use that as a plot point. And
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty amazing. That was very wise of them.
There's no Johnny Sasaki in Metal Gear Solid 5, though. Not knock up a
No,
point on the rating.
there is.
There's a tape, but it doesn't count.
Yeah, I guess that you can. It's only assumed that that's Johnny, the person. Like where you find the tape, there's a soldier in the bathroom.
Yep.
So that's the only that might have been Johnny, but yeah, that doesn't quite count.
Johnny Sasaki is Skullface.
Close, I guess.
Yeah, it's exactly true. Can't break my head canon. CP, CP, we have lost contact with the podcast. What happened? CP, over. CP, report.